Okay, so the connectors that you use in the on the cable on Ethernet cables to connect routers and PCs, that's what you say you identify in those box, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now, can someone tell us? Can someone try giving us the name of these adapters? Can someone try giving us the names? Who knows what the name is? Anyone? Well, I'll just cut it short. This is called an RJ45 connector. I'll type that in the group chat. RJ45, RJ45 connector. That is called an RJ45 connector. Okay. So that being said, if you ever have to face this particular scenario again, you got to know what that is. Now we talked about this particular component. We refer to it as an ESD wrist strap. So can someone also let us know what the purpose of this particular component is? What is the purpose? What do we use it for? And in what scenario? Anyone? That's fine. Uh, when we were talking about electrostatic discharge, we did mention that when you walk through a room, well, that electrostatic discharge occurs when two bodies or two components meet with difference in electrical energy stored within them. So when there is this difference, there will be need for transfer to occur from a body with higher capacity to another body with a lower capacity. So the reason why you use an ESD wrist strap is to equalize the amount of electricity that is found within your body and the one that is found in the PC case. So in a case where we have equal, there will be neutrality and therefore no need for transfer. That is the use of this wrist strap. Next, we see a screwdriver. Definitely, the name says it all. It is a screwdriver. Also, in the networking toolkit, we have a plier. A plier, I believe we have all seen pliers before and what they do with pliers. There is this other component that we refer to as an extension magnet. With an extension magnet, we pick up screws that fall deep into PC components where the fingers cannot easily reach. Same thing as the three-prong holder. It basically also picks up screws that are hidden, that have fallen deep into places where the human finger cannot easily reach. Next, we have a multimeter. It is used to measure various electrical capacities of different kinds of devices. In as much as a power supply tester, we said it is used to figure out if a power supply is the issue, is the reason why the system won't boot up. So when in the case in the when you are troubleshooting, when you're troubleshooting your PC, one of the things you can do is to connect your power supply to this unit and you would test it to see if there is appropriate voltage delivery. Then you'll be able to know whether the issue with the PC is being caused by the power supply or another component. Here we have a turn generator and a probe. Well, I will not really want us to go too deep into this because we talked about it previously. It's found in the previous recording, and we have also a lot to cover this week. Now, a turn generator is basically like two things where you plug two devices that you plug one on one end and then use the other one as a signal as to test signal through cables. And whenever it meets the cable to which the other end is plugged to, it will start beeping. So that's how you're able to figure out that this cable I plugged in that other end, this is it on a server rack, because there are over thousands of cables. You cannot just trace them one after the other. This is also a digital cable tester. We also have analog ones, but this right here is a digital cable tester. Right here, we have a loop back plug, and it is basically a device that sends that when you can plug one end to an Ethernet cable, and then plug the other end to the other end also of the Ethernet cable. So basically, what it does is that it sends a whole bunch of data packets through that cable, and receives the data itself, and compares the packet sent versus the packet received. If the match, means the cable is okay. If there is something missing, definitely the cable had a problem. Okay. Uh, we also have, within this particular scenario, we also have good known spares. So when PC and networking tools are not just, they are not just for some specific component that have a single purpose, but some of your tools could also be known spare parts of your PC that are actually working. You know them to be working, so that whenever you're troubleshooting a PC, you can always use the spare parts to figure out if the issue is coming from the machine internally, or it is just a spare part that needs to be replaced. So that is where we did end. That is where we did end, and the rest was left for you to go through within the previous session. So that leaves us to a case where you have to bring up your questions or things that you didn't understand, so that we look at them before beginning the next chapter. So I will just give you like 2 minutes to reflect on what we just did, and come up with possible questions that we need to clarify before we continue to the next chapter. So the time starts now. Okay. Be reflecting on your questions. In 2 minutes, we resume. We resume to get these questions, and try to answer them. Any of us can take the question. So just make sure that you reflect and you have at least one question, because we have looked into a lot, and definitely should have questions. Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening now. Should I call names, or you just going to do it yourself? Okay, definitely we have one. Yes, go ahead. Zidane, you want to say something?
Okay, can we ask a question in chapter 3?
You want to ask a question in chapter 3?
I'm asking if one can ask a question in chapter 3.
Yeah, you can, definitely you can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
The question out.
Okay, you want to ask the question while we're in chapter 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Anyone else?
Sir, I found some questions here in key terms. These cables, this coaxial cable, inner conductor, insulator, braid mesh conductor. So these cables, sir, I wish to know.
Okay, you wish to understand what these cables are all about. So for those who are wondering, I believe that you should at least have gone through these PowerPoint slides, and you should understand that within this hardware, within this chapter of hardware, the first submodule is networking media. So in this module, we're going to be discussing the various means through which data is being transmitted from one point to another, and the factors that affect data transmission. All right. So we're not just going to see examples of this medium as well, but this media, but we are going to look at a lot more details that pertain to this aspect of network medium. So the skills that you will be able to get at the end of this submodule is that you'll be able to select and install a network adapter alongside the appropriate network adapters. Alongside the appropriate transmission medium. Sorry for that. Okay. The key terms we're going to be talking about within this submodule or this chapter in general are coaxial cable, inner conductor, insulator, braided mesh conductor, shared F-type connector, RG6, unshielded twisted pair, or UTP. I think you have seen UTP a lot. Unshielded twisted pair cable, shielded twisted pair cable, and these all other technologies. You remember someone talked about the connector that we find on Ethernet cables. You see RJ45 here. This is it. Not to worry, we are going to go into that a little bit further. So the next phase here is key definitions. We are going to be defining all these concepts that we're going to talk about or look deep into the next chapters. So we're just going to start by defining a few of them, but I'm not going to do that. I'll select somebody within this class to do the reading. I'll select one person to do the reading. I wish for Valet back to do that, to read the first 3 definitions, and we'll figure out who will read the next 3 definitions. As he reads one and ends, I will come in and explain a little bit, all right? Or if there's a question, we answer it before we continue to the next. So, Mr. Valet, up to you.
Coaxial cable, which is defined as it carries broadband internet signals. The next one is inner conductor, which is defined as it carries data signals in cables. And the next one is an insulator, which surrounds inner cable conductor and keeps signals separated from the mesh conductor.
Okay. Okay. So from that reading, let's try to analyze what all those mean. One, we begin with the coaxial cable. It says it carries broadband internet signals. So this is basically internet that moves through cables like an example of coaxial cable is that type of cable that brings TV signals into your house. That's an example, all right? And an inner conductor is like the copper wire right inside that carries data signals. That's what we refer to as an inner conductor. Remember, we talked previously about a conductor being any component that lets electricity or digital signals pass through it with little or no resistance. All right. Now, an insulator, he said, surrounds inner cable conductor and keeps signals separated from the mesh conductor. All right. So basically, it is simply insulating. It is kind of protecting the inner cable from every kind of damage or other data signals that might cause noise within the data transmission. All right. So for the next three, I would like who do we choose to read this? Zidane, do you mind?
Okay,
Do you have
sir.
a question? Do you have a question, Valer?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, sir, please, I wish to understand what is the meaning or what is the meaning of a mesh conductor?
All right, a mesh conductor. It actually it's a component that serves how can I really put it? Grounding. Do you know grounding cables? Do you know grounding cables like the third pin that you always find inside cable? Like you can see a red, a black, and you see a yellow.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So essentially what that third cable does is that it grounds, right? It takes the excessive power, excessive voltage that those devices don't need and sends them to the ground, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the braided mesh actually acts like a grounding cable within a coaxial cable. Do you understand? So,
Yes, sir.
so what the insulator does is that because there's also electricity that's going to pass through the braided mesh conductor, and what it does is that it's going to separate the insulator separates the current passing through through the mesh from the current that is passing in the inner conductor. All right. The same way you have three separate cables inside a normal electric cable that transmit electricity. Two of them are black and red, and the other is yellow. The yellow one is always separate from where these two black and red connect to. All right. Okay. I don't know if is your question answered.
Yes, sir, it's answered, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So let's hear from Zidane. Zidane.
Should I read, sir?
Yes. Okay. You raised your hand. Was it to read or to ask a question?
Not to the grounded cable.
The
ground cable.
You wish to know what the ground cable is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. You know that when like a thunderstorm occurs and then lightning strikes, there is how will I say? There is a surge, a power surge that occurs, like an abrupt increase in the amount of electrical voltage that arrives to your devices, right? And I believe you also understand that these devices are meant to like accommodate just a certain amount of electric voltage. So when this electricity comes then in excessively high voltage, the ground cable, what it does is that it carries this excessive electricity and sends it to the ground. It goes inside the earth.
I got a point, sir. I got you now.
All right. Okay, so yeah, now you can proceed with the reading.
You said 3, sir.
Yeah, so the next 3.
Okay,
everyone is going to read it. Everyone is going to read.
Okay, braided mesh conductor function as a physical channel and as a ground. Shed encases a cable to protect it from external elements. F-type connector, a coaxial cable specification used for CCTV video systems.
Okay, okay. So he said a braided mesh. Mr. Daniel, your hand is still raised. Do you have something to ask?
No, sir, I got nothing, sir.
All right, that's fine. Okay. So what from the braided mesh, we just said it functions as a second physical channel and as a ground, right? So it doesn't just serve the purpose of of a secondary conductor, but it also as a grounding cable because within that channel within coaxial cables we have just a single inner conductor. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the cables that connect to the back of your TV, but there is just one single conductor. There is just a single connector inside. All right. So the braided mesh serves the purpose of a ground cable. Now the shed, right, encases the cable to protect it from external elements. It is that outer skin that you see is black because the insulator inside the cable is white, and then the shed is the black part of it that prevents it from protects it from external elements. We're talking about sun, humidity, or water, and other external elements. Now, the F-type connector, unlike the RJ45 connector, is just another type of connector that is used to connect the coaxial cable to the system. Right now, we're talking, an example here is the CCTV system for CCTV. Who can tell me what CCTV stands for?
So, CCTV, I know this CCTV is like for this camera system, like for video surveillance.
I mean, like the full meaning of CCTV.
Don't know, sir.
Can someone tell us? You can even, when you ask a question like that, as you begin your career in IT, right? Don't know, you can never know everything. You cannot always know everything. So what you can do in this particular scenario is like to go to Google real quick and try to figure out what CCTV is.
Yes, sir. I got it, sir. I got the meaning.
Okay.
Yeah, closed circuit television.
I have the meaning.
All right. Now you all have it. Go to Google, do a search. All right. Go to Google and do research. Anyways, that's fine. That's fine. We continue. An RJ6 connector. An RJ6 connector. So a coaxial cable specification, right? Used for cable TV, satellite TV, and broadband cable internet. So internet that mostly comes in form of a satellite internet, television that comes through dishes and satellite, and the satellite, right? It essentially comes in the form of coaxial cable. So when you see RJ6, RJ6 is I think RJ6 is the cable that comes for that is used to transmit these signals, as well as we have also the RJ59 connector. The RJ59 connector serves as a means for you to connect this cable to your device, because the cable is just the cable on its own, and then we now have the ability to plug it on your device. You have to put it on another on a connector, so that there we also talk about the RJ59. So the shielded and unshielded twisted pair cables. I want someone else to try explaining what they think is a shielded and is an unshielded twisted pair cable. We don't really read from here, like in your own words. What do you understand by shielded or unshielded twisted pair cable?
So a shielded cable is a cable it's a cable that has a common conductive layer around its conductors for electromagnetic shielding.
That direct. What's what reading from Google? That's what reading from Google. What else do you have for me? And you put it in your own words. What do you understand? The goal here is for you to tell me what you understand so that we can then debate on it to see if your understanding is the way it is or it needs a little bit of modification. You will understand better that way. So from the common word shielded and the other word unshielded, what does it tell you? If they say sorry, if they say a cable is shielded and they say another one is unshielded, what does it tell you?
Meaning the other one, a cable might be covered and another one might not be covered.
All right. I don't think Zidane is the only person in this class, so I would like to hear from Nabila and Vale. Nabila, you're not saying anything since. I wish to hear from you what you think an unshielded and shielded twisted pair cable is. The definition is actually in front of you. The goal for asking this question was so that you can read here and then understand something. Then tell me so that we can debate upon, can debate over what you think the answer is or it's not.
So I got a question, sir.
Just before you bring up your question, just wait for her to say something. You ask your question later, please.
Okay, I think shielded pairs provides more protection. Not really because I read it from there, but from the word shielded twisted pair. That is, it connects. Oh shit! Please let me rephrase my sentence. I'll get back to you.
Just go ahead. Say it anyhow. No answer is wrong.
That is, shielded pairs cable provides more protection against interference. That is, network interference. While unshielded cables doesn't. It provides, but not as shielded twisted pair cables.
Okay, thank you very much. You have to understand that when we talk about network interference, in this case, we are referring to a particular type of network interference, and that is electromagnetic interference. All right, electromagnetic interference, summarily, abbreviated as EMI. So the EMI you all are seeing right now is stands for electromagnetic interference. Now, I want to hear from Zidane now what your question was. Nabila, you're not wrong, all right? You're not wrong. You're definitely on track. So let me hear Zidane's question first. All right, Vale, you can go on.
Okay, sir. I wanted to give my own contribution by saying that unshielded twisted pair, an example can be untwisted shielded pair of cable. An example can be the cable that is connected, that can connect my deck or my decoder to my TV, where that there are two cables that are involved, but both of them are not shielded. Now, an example of the shielded twisted pair is like an example is my telephone charger, where if I open the first coating or the first layer, I'm going to see three cables inside. There is the red, black, and shielded in one place. So that is what me I understand from unshielded and shielded with an example.
Okay, you're also not wrong, but it could be better. So, any other input before we take the next question? Then after I explain.
So my question is from what he just from explaining. So just go on, sir.
Okay. Okay. Um, a twisted pair cable, right? Initially, is just another type of cable that transmits data from one point to another. But in this case, it is not just a single cable or two cables. There are like 8 cables inside. Not like, there are exactly 8 cables within a twisted pair cable. These cables are wrapped in pairs of 2. So we have 4 pairs inside that. When you see the brown, I don't know if the gray outer protection, there are 8 cables inside, twisted in pairs of 2. So now, what is the reason for these cables to be twisted that way? Every single cable in the process of transmitting data uh, emanates what we refer to as electromagnetic interference. And on their own, just on their own, moving on their own, this interference can interfere with what the other cable is transmitting. All right. So it can be a danger for the other cable. The reason why you now pair them in two is that, when you bring negative and put them together, they make positive. So the interference now from one cable and the interference on the other cable cancel themselves. That's why you see them wrapped in pairs of 2. Thus, we have the name twisted pair. Now, this can prevent them from their own generated electromagnetic interference, but it cannot protect them from external electromagnetic interference. You would generally see a cable that has only a single coating of on insulating material like rubber, right? That one is referred to as an unshielded twisted pair cable, or UTP for short. Secondly, we're going to have a shielded twisted pair. It is basically the same as the unshielded one, but the difference now is that it has a layer of aluminum foil inside. Something like this looks like an aluminum paper. It's another layer of coating on the cables before the insulating material outside. So you have now a cable that is being protected from electromagnetic interference. All in all, STP is more expensive because of the protection from electromagnetic interference, and the UTP is less expensive per meter, right? So you just gotta know that is how this works. So I'm taking in questions now.
Yes, sir, got one.
Go on.
So you said, meaning an example of this shield that can be this dish cable, because when you want to put on a dish, you see this metallic stuff wrapped inside, and then after them you see the metallic
Please hold on.
stuff.
Please hold on. Please hold on. I don't want you from today. I don't want you to say dish cable again. I want you to say, what do I want you to say?
The coaxial cable.
Oh, sorry, I was really talking to myself. I was trying to illustrate to you what you have to say instead of saying dish cable. You're not talking as a layman anymore, you're trying to talk as a professional because from the time you decided to take on this trading, you are already you're already becoming a professional. So I need you to say that this is what I need you to say. So you actually have to say it. You don't say dish cable again. What do you say?
The coaxial cable.
Coaxial cable. Good. So now you can continue with your question.
Yes, as I was saying that let me say after the first layer, the black layer, the outermost part of the coaxial cable. After when you like try to peel it off, you come across this metallic stuff you just said right now. And after that, you now come across another white layer before you now meet a single cable inside. Is that an example of a shielded cable, sir?
That's just what we're talking about right here. I believe you're one of the people that have opened up the cable that brings TV signals. For other
Yes.
people who have done so, what he's explaining is just correct. All right. We equally have in there a braided mesh inside the coaxial cable. There is also a braided mesh like metallic cables that are being twisted, that are being braided, because the word braided means like to mesh something, right? The way girls do their hairs. And now the layer of shielding that he's talking about is like an aluminum foil paper. I believe that a lot of you have know what aluminum foil paper is. The protection, that protection looks like aluminum foil paper, and it is actually what prevents that protects the cable from electromagnetic interference. So actually, the twisted pair cables are not the only ones that are protected against EMI. All right. And another thing you have to know is that the white stuff that you're talking about is what we refer to as the insulator. The black skin outside is the shed. And then the cable inside that carries data, that is in copper, is referred to as the inner conductor. So everything that you just explained now links to what we did previously, all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So who else has seen that kind of a cable? Who else has seen that? So nobody else amongst you here have seen what a twisted pair cable, who is working on the screen? So no one else here has seen what a coaxial cable or a twisted pair cable looks like? No one else. Oh, someone has seen. That's good. For those of you who have interacted with satellite internet, for those of you who have interacted with satellite internet, those of you who have interacted with like Canal Plus, TSTV, and more, for those of you who have interacted also with modems and like landline internet, where or mobile phone, where the cable comes into your house and connects to your phone, know that you have already seen a coaxial cable and or a twisted pair cable before. We might just have you will be able to interact with these cables as you work in the platform. For those who have been doing the labs, have you come in contact with a twisted pair cable? Have you been asked to like connect it during any case of networking? Have you been asked to do that? I'm asking to anybody here who has been working with the lab. All right, seems like you guys have not gotten there yet. So Valemba, do you have any question? Vale.
No, sir, not for now.
Okay. Now,
Yes, sir.
Within twisted pair cables, they come in various categories, and these categories tell us about the amount of data that they can transfer per second within a particular distance or a length. All right. So we have category 5 cables and category 5E. We're going to talk about category 5E because it is also called gigabit Ethernet. Gigabit Ethernet. Remember this phrase, remember this word, sorry. Remember this gigabit Ethernet is synonymous to category 5, category 5E. Category 6 also is gigabit Ethernet cable, but it does not just support 1 gigabyte per second of transfer, but it can support up to 10 gigabytes per second of transfer speed when the cable is not longer than 55 meters. All right. Just imagine being able to transfer 10 gigabytes as soon as you click in a second through a cable. Isn't that crazy? Well, I think that's awesome. Category 6A as well is also gigabit Ethernet, but it can also, the maximum it can transfer per second is also 10 gigabytes, but the difference now is in terms of the length. It can transfer within 100 meters at that speed of 10 gigabytes per second. Category 7 is the highest specification for crosstalk and the noise of category cable. So category 7 is the most expensive and the highest specification that we have in terms of Ethernet cables. Now we are going to talk about connectors, the RJ11 connector and the RJ45 connector. In the group, when we finish this meeting, someone should remind me to send you pictures of RJ45 and RJ11 connectors, all right? So now, an RJ45 an RJ11 connector has just 4 cables inside, wrapped up in 2 pairs, all right? And this is used primarily for telephone lines. It is used, then I'll get to you. Let me just finish what I'm saying right now. So the RJ11 connector has 4 cables inside, wrapped in 2 pairs, all right, with the connector itself. So this essentially is used for telephone wiring. So when you see office telephones, like go to a manager's office, he calls his secretary from outside, they are not using satellite, or they're not using antennas to communicate. It is a local networking which has been done using an Ethernet cable with an RJ11 connector. Also, we have the RJ45 connector. It is what you have been seeing a lot. Those of you who are studying IT, I think you have already seen RJ45 connectors. The Internet cables that you take and you try to plug into your computer, the connector that plugs directly to your computer is what we call the RJ45 connector. As I said, it is an 8 connector cable wrapped in 4 pairs of 2. And he has a locking tab, and this essentially is used for Ethernet networks. Patch twisted pair cable and crossover twisted pair cable is simply the arrangement of cables that which is used to, how will I say, which is used to like categorize the, let me just take this whole thing back. When you need to connect a device of a particular category to another device of that same category, there is a type of cable that you're supposed to use, and we refer to that as a crossover twisted pair cable. There is a particular standard for that. And when you need to connect a device to another device which is not of the same category, I'm talking something like if you want to connect a laptop to another laptop using Ethernet cable for data transfer, you have to use the crossover arrangement. But if you need to connect like a laptop to a router, a laptop to another device, I don't know what it is, what you are supposed to use is a patch twisted pair cable. All right. So the crossover twisted pair cable, it has an arrangement T568A standard, and the second connector T568B. You're going to see all those standards as you proceed with your labs and you do the general training. All right. Now we are talking about fiber optic cables. So I didn't mention in the start that for the physical transmission mediums, like mediums that are physical to transfer data, there are 3 of them. We have coaxial cables, twisted pair cables, and fiber optic cables. Those are for physical technologies for data transmission. When we go to wireless, we have radio frequency, we have Wi-Fi, we have Bluetooth and other technologies, all right, line of sight technology that are used for communication. So now let's talk about fiber optic cable. But before that, one question I have for you is between coaxial cable and a shielded twisted pair cable and STP cable, which one is more expensive?
So the shielded twisted cable, sir.
What basis do you use to compare these two?
So because the materials that are used to make the shielded twisted pair cable are more expensive than that is used to do a coaxial cable, sir. And
Yes.
also it uses I can just say the coaxial cable, what it transfer can be compared to that of a shielded because it just is a coaxial cable has just a single metal brownish inside, sir. Meanwhile, a twisted pair is made up of 4 pairs of 8 cables. So which also prove that a shielded pair cable can transfer more data than a quasar cable, sir.
Okay. Is that what you think, or is that what there is?
Just you can say what I think, sir.
Okay, we can say that that's what you think. Someone else should bring their thoughts. Let's see. Mariama, welcome. Mariama, can you hear me? Well, we'll get to you.
Please, sir, could you
Nabila,
take back the question?
do you have a question, or should I
No,
take
I'm
back?
asking, yes, take back the question, please.
I was asking if between which one is more expensive between a coaxial cable and a shielded twisted pair cable.
Okay.
Are you thinking? Actually, that comparison
Yeah,
is absurd. What I was expecting all of you to tell me is that the comparison is absurd. Absurd in what sense? It is not wrong, but absurd. The reason being that you cannot be comparing something of a different standard with another one of a different standard. If we were to be comparing twisted pair cables, like unshielded twisted pair and shielded twisted pair, that would be right. But comparing a twisted pair cable with a coaxial cable is not right. As I'm talking to you right now, I am seeing an RJ6 coaxial cable right in front of me, and what I am using for Ethernet to connect to this meeting is an unshielded twisted pair Ethernet cable. That is what I'm using to connect myself, and the TV in front of me is connected with an RJ6 coaxial cable. It says here GenaSat RJ6 coaxial cable made in China 138Y. So you should have seen, a lot of you should have seen this, but you might just really do not know that that is what it was. So I was expecting you to tell me that it is absurd, the comparison is absurd. So I'll quickly go by saying that what do you think is more expensive between 1 meter of UTP and 1 meter of STP?
So I think UTP is more expensive.
You think UTP, who is talking?
It's George.
Okay, you think UTP is more expensive? Give your reason. Give us the reason why you think UTP is more expensive per meter. Well, listening to you, did you just speak randomly, or you actually know the reason why UTP is more expensive than STP?
I don't quite have a solid reason.
All right. Well, thanks for trying. That is not correct. That is not exactly the case. we said UTP stands for unshielded twisted pair and STP stands for shielded twisted pair. The additional protection that is put in a cable to make it be protected or being, what did they say it again? To be immune. The additional protection added to a cable to make it immune to electromagnetic interference is what we refer to as a shielded twisted pair cable. Because of that addition, it makes a cable that is more protected and definitely more expensive. So as a result, STP is more expensive than UTP, all right? I hope that you've understood. We are going to proceed with the next type of cable. One thing you have to know, the only reason why you need to add aluminum shielding to coaxial cables and twisted pair cables is because they are the only type of physical transmission media that are how do I say, that are likely to be affected by EMI. When I say EMI, I mean electromagnetic interference. So the only type of cables that can easily be affected by EMI, we do have coaxial cables and twisted pair cables. The next cable here we're talking about is a fiber optic cable. Who can tell me how fiber optic cables manage to transmit data? How do they transmit signal? In what form? Because I think we know that coaxial cables and twisted pair cables transmit data in form of electricity, in form of bits of electricity. But how do fiber optic cables transmit data? In what form do they transmit data?
So for me, the fiber optic cable transmit signals in the form of light. I think that's photons.
That's
through the
true.
process called total internal reflection. I think yes, reflection.
Are you into any IT field?
Sorry, sir.
Are you into any IT field? Like, what do you do?
No, I'm not an IT field, sir. I've never done IT, sir.
Okay, that was the perfect explanation of how fiber optic cables transmit data. It is through signals of light reflected within the inner core, within the central core, with a process called total internal reflection. All right. So
yes, sir.
yeah, good. So that's what you have to understand. The central core of a fiber optic cable is made up of glass. And that glass is what serves to transmit light, to reflect light signals so that it can travel. One thing you have to know is about fiber optic cables is that they are the fastest means of transmission, because light is the fastest thing, right? Light being the fastest thing ever, and fiber optics using that same medium makes it the fastest means of transmission and also the most expensive. It is built in a way that there is a central core, there is cladding, a protective layer, and a plastic shed. So the central core is what carries the signal, the glass tube I talked to you about, like a small tube made of glass. The cladding maintains the signal in the center of the core by reflecting signals that hit the walls of the central core, by reflecting it again and sending it back inside, because when a signal hits the outside of the central core, it might want to reflect outside because that is made up of glass. So the cladding actually recenters that signal by reflecting back again inside the tube. Now, a protective layer actually prevents the cladding and the central core from breaking. All of these are made up of glass. These internal components, they are made of glass. And if they don't have something to protect them, they can easily break. You know that glass is very brittle. The plastic shed outside then encases everything and protects the whole cable from physical damage from the outside. Okay, that is it for the components of this fiber optic cables. So have in mind that you don't have to bend these cables because they will break the glass tube. Glass cannot really bend, it will break. You don't have to, it is very expensive, though it is the fastest means of transfer of data transmission. Now, we have cables that are single mode and we have cables that are multi-mode. Single mode cables transfer data using a single light ray, whereas multi-mode transfer data using multiple light rays. So that I think that should be pretty straightforward. And the connectors, the same way we have RJ59 connector for coaxial cable, we have it RJ45 and RJ11 connectors for twisted pair cables. We also have ST, SC, and LC connectors for fiber optic cables. We're going to learn about them in subsequent modules. All of those we were saying were just talking. We're just giving definitions. This is actually what a coaxial cable looks like. I believe all of you have seen this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all of you should have seen this already.
Yes, sir.
This is what a coaxial cable looks like. You see the inner conductor, you see the PVC, the insulator, the braided mesh outside, and the PVC shed, right? So it has, we have RJ6 and RJ59. These are the various connectors that are used on these cables. We have F-type and BNC. Sorry for saying previously that we use use RJ59 connector. There is no such thing as a connector. It's just another type of the cable. So we have RJ6 and RJ9. The same way we have twisted and shielded and unshielded. We have RJ, RG6 and RG59. It's just that RG6 has higher signal quality. It is used for both satellite and cable TV and satellite and internet, whereas RG59 is rarely used because of its poor signal quality. These are the various type of connectors that you will find plugged into coaxial cables. I think you have seen these connectors plugged into your TVs.
Yes, sir.
Advantages of coaxial cables are that it is resistant to EMI, reason being that it has already coating inside and it is very durable. When do you remember changing the cable that brings TV, that brings a cable to your, that brings a TV signal to your house? Who remembers ever having to change that cable?
Never, sir.
That reason being that it is very durable. But the disadvantage here is that it is really expensive and the splitters weaken signal. What is a splitter? There are these devices that you use like at the junction to connect several cables together. I think that you have seen these guys that provide cables to quarters where you pay like subscribe to them monthly. They'll bring one single cable and then use this device that will break that cable signal into several signals that will then be extended to several other cables that can now go to people's individual homes. So at the end of the day, one cable brings the signals and then provides TV to 6 homes. So that splitter weakens the signal. That's why you see it to be blurry and making all these white and blacks noises that you find on the screen. All right. So now EMI is generated by a single cable. When you twist it, we're now already on twisted cable, right? EMI is generated by a single cable, and when you wrap 2 cables together, they do what we call crosstalk and then nullify their EMI. This is what a shielded twisted pair looks like, and this is what an unshielded twisted pair looks like. I hope you see it.
Yes, sir.
Good, good. Category 5 categories of Ethernet cables from 5 to category 8. Category 8 is it's recent in development and it is not really used. I think the most used right now is category 7, but though category 8 is still used, but not as much as the previous versions, all right? Because it has its energy requirements and other factors that affect the whole use of the cable. So we're going to continue with the various connectors. The RJ11 connector looks just like the RJ45 connectors, but the difference is that the RJ11 has 4 pins and the RJ45 has 8 pins, all right? Any question before we continue? All right, I believe there's no question.
Yes, sir.
So, any question? Do you have a question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have a question. I just wanted to know the meaning of the PVC shield BNC.
PVC is a type of material that is used, which is a non-conductor. PVC is a type of material that is a non-conductor, and this is used. It is mostly in form of plastic, and it is used to shield cables and protect them from external damage. All right. You can do more research on that. You can do more research on PVC, yes, in general. You can do more.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you're welcome. It is the full meaning of PVC is polyvinyl chloride, and it's a chemical compound that is used to make pipes that transfer water, and also protective layer as a protective layer for cables. So we're going to talk now about the advantages and disadvantages of twisted pair cables. We say they are very cheap, they are flexible, and they have fast speeds. But they are very much susceptible to EMI, and they are not secure. What do we say EMI is again? Don't bother, don't mind me asking a lot of questions. I'm just trying to engage and make sure that everybody is on the track. What is EMI again?
Electromagnetic interference.
Good. Now this is what a fiber optic cable looks like. This is what fiber optic cable looks like. You can see the central core made of glass. The cladding also made of another glass, but it is not it reflects internally, not externally. All right. So it sends back signals, it bounces signals that are coming, hitting these walls and trying to go out. It bounces the signals back into the tube, and it keeps on moving just within that central core. And this protective layer and the plastic shed all together protect these two from breaking. So we're going to talk about single mode fibers and talk about multi-mode fibers. The difference is that the single mode is smaller, right? And single mode can have long cables, whereas multiple modes, they have multiple data channels and the cables are rather short. In single modes are faster than multiple mode fiber cables. You should be really trying to figure out what single mode fiber and the multi-mode fiber is. For further explanations, I'm just going to go deeper if you bring it up as a question, because it is just so broad to explain in the wild. Now I'm going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of using fiber optic cables. One advantage is that it is the fastest medium of data transmission. It is immune to EMI, which means electromagnetic interference does not affect fiber optic cables. It has a very long cable length. You know that the cable that brings internet to Cameroon in general moves from Brazil, right? And it is under the sea. It's a fiber optic cable which is lying under the sea that belongs to Camtel. I'll also make sure that I'll make provisions for that illustration to be shown to you, right? Let me just wait. Let me try doing that research. Good. You can go to this website, submarine cable map. I'm copying the link, putting in the chat, putting in the group chat. submarine cable map. On this site, you'll be able to see all the fiber optic cables that are lying under the sea that transmit data from one part of the world to another. Let me share. Okay, so here we go. Can you see? Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Fiber optics are thousands of kilometers that are there with the cables linking the world. If you come here, right here, to where you see Cameroon, if you come here to see where you see Cameroon, you'll notice that the main cable that comes into Cameroon is the orange one, right? Is the orange cable. That is the main one that comes to Cameroon. You can see that, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
if you look here, it is the South Atlantic Interlink. The another name for it is SAIL, and it is brought to you by Camtel. It is brought to you by Camtel, right? So you look at it, look here. South Atlantic Interlink SAIL. It is 5,800 kilometers of length, and it is owned by Camtel and China Unicom. So it lands at Fortaleza. It leaves Fortaleza in Brazil and reaches Kribi, Cameroon. All right. Where the cable touches Cameroon is at Kribi and at Fortaleza in Brazil. I'll just leave you guys to be able to go to the link yourself. Make sure you keep it so that you can go there after the class and try to like understand how the whole thing is connected and how it works. So we come back to our class. We come back to our class. All right. So we said the fastest is the fastest medium. It is immune to EMI and it has very long cable length. You saw that the distance between Brazil and Kribi is 5,800 kilometers. Which other cable type can manage that kind of distance while providing stable connection? There is no other cable that can do that, right? Good. So despite the fact that the cable has a lot of good features, it also has inconveniences such as being very expensive. All right, the cable is really, really expensive. It is inflexible. Reason being that you cannot really twist it around. You cannot wrap through corners. The distance, it can just go straight. If you look from that map, you notice that it will go just straight. You also know that you cannot install connectors. Like you cannot break the cable and then link one end to another end of the cable using connectors. You can't do that. So the cable must just be one complete cable, one full cable from beginning from start to end. Okay. So summarily, we talk about transmission cables that have transmission medium, physical transmission mediums. We didn't mention cables that have copper inner conductors, such as the UTP and STP of twisted pair cables and coaxial cables. And we also mentioned that these are cables that are being affected by EMI, electromagnetic interference. But the fact that some of them are shielded protects them from this electromagnetic interference. We also talked about fiber optic cables, and we saw the advantages of these cables and their disadvantages, and also try to make a visual representation of these cables as well. Last but not the least, we are talking right now about plenum rated. If you see the word plenum, you might be really wondering what it is, so I'm going to break it down for you in order to not waste much of our time. We are actually already around at the end of this session, so I'm going to tell you what the plenum rated cable is before we come to the end of this session. It is a cable that is rated to be able to walk around the ceiling areas of ventilation vents of buildings, so much so that if there is fire and these cables catch and the fire expands to where these cables are, it is not going to burn easily. And if it ends up burning, it's not going to send off toxic smokes that is going to go through the ventilations and enter and disperse all through the building and suffocate people. So when a cable is rated, is plenum rated, it means that it is safe to use in the plenum area of a building. So as I'm leaving you all today, the assignment is to go and check what a plenum is, and then also check what plenum rated cables in general, plenum rated cables are in general. So you have two assignments, plenum rated cables and what a plenum is. Everything that you need to know about a plenum, you should go and find it out on the internet. And by our next session, tomorrow, Monday, I will expect to have these answers. So it was great having you around. Thanks for following up and bringing through with your questions. I would like to take 2 or 3 questions before we close the session. Taking questions. Do you guys have or you don't?
So I don't have any question to now, sir, but the question will be coming tomorrow.
Okay. So alongside what a plenum cable is, go to this slide. The last slide before 3.2 in chapter 3, this last slide that says class discussion. Answer all these questions, okay? Answer all these questions as well. We'll meet in class tomorrow and we're going to break them down. So these are the things that you're going to do. Do answer this whole discussion and then see you tomorrow. I believe that should be all.
Okay, sir.
Good. Which cables are found in your phone charger? There are regular cables. There are regular electric cables. They just have PVC that protect you or protect the cables from short circuiting among themselves. You can also do that, take this as an advantage to find out which cables are found in your chargers. I'm talking to Nabila and every other person. Find out which kind of cables are inside your charger as well. Though I've said it, but also do again to research on that. Good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. This is what we had to do for today. And I hope to see you all in present tomorrow in your numbers. Goodbye.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, sir.
Good. Goodbye.
Have a great night.
A better one for you.
Wow, Bagila,